Joe Biden, it turns out, has been using a bunch of fake names for himself. In other words, he's been using aliases or pseudonyms or whatever you want to call it. And here are some of his pseudonyms. Robert Peters, Robin Ware, W-A-R-E, and J.R.B. Ware. Now, what's the deal with the W-A-R-E Ware? I have no idea. But this is all very telling, isn't it? Because these fake names are being used in a very specific context. The context is to camouflage the collaboration between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, to camouflage the fact that Joe Biden is very actively involved in the international bribery scheme involving really all the key members of the Biden family. And the House Republicans are now on it, and Representative Comer has sent a letter to the archives basically saying, hey, listen, President Joe Biden's use of multiple pseudonyms during his vice presidency appears to have hidden some of his communications from that period, including some involving Ukraine policy and his son, Hunter Biden. So Representative Comer is like, turn over all the communications that use Joe Biden's aliases or his fake names. Now, let's look at why people use fake names, because there's a kind of uneasiness about all this on the left, and they're trying to imply, well, you know, people sometimes make up names, they use pseudonyms. Well, okay, yeah. I guess writers sometimes use pseudonyms. George Eliot, the writer from the 19th century, was a woman. She didn't want to write as a woman. She thought she'd be treated more seriously as a man, so she came up with a pseudonym, George Eliot. Samuel Clemens is the real name of Mark Twain. We know Hollywood actors sometimes take fake names, partly because their real names are weird and they like to sound kind of glamorous, Scarlett O'Hara and so on. So by and large, you get actors taking on fake names. Sometimes people take on fake names as a joke, or they do nicknames, but none of that is really going on here. Let's look at the context for which Joe Biden is using fake names. And I want to say that the other reason to use fake names is pretty simple. When you want to hide your involvement. And so you make up a name. And in this case, as we'll see, the fake name has a government email attached to it. So Joe Biden has been using government resources to essentially conceal his own identity. All of this, I think, is just brick by brick by brick for the Republicans building up to an impeachment inquiry. And I think Kevin McCarthy seems to be taking the approach here, listen, I'm going to move slowly on this so that when I move, all the evidence will be right there in front of me. Now, in 2016, for example, a fellow who worked in the office of the vice president sends Joe Biden his official daily schedule, but he doesn't send it to Joe Biden's official email. He sends it to robert.l.peters@pci.gov, and he copies Hunter. So Hunter is being looped into the Biden schedule. That's why they don't want other people to see it. Similarly, in an email from Flynn to Joe Biden, aka Robert Peters, they talk about 8:45 a.m. prep for 9 a.m. phone call with President Poroshenko. Who's Poroshenko? The president of Ukraine at the time. This is at the time Hunter Biden is making $83,000 a month to sit on the board of Burisma. This is right around the time that Hunter is introducing the top Burisma executive, Vadim Pozarsky, to Joe Biden. This is in April 2015 at a dinner in Cafe Milano. And then, of course, the firing of the prosecutor. Here's another email. Joe Biden forwards an email about Ukraine through another pseudonymous or fake name. This is robinware456@gmail.com. He sends it to Hunter and also to Hunter's brother, Beau Biden, who was then the Delaware Attorney General. And the email was from Deputy Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and it was essentially a communication about Ukraine and the corruption inquiry going on in Ukraine. The Robert Peters email address that I mentioned, @pci.gov, which tells you that this is all government resources being used to hide Joe Biden's identity. So what's all this reminiscent of? Well, first of all, it's reminiscent of Hillary Clinton, who kept a private email server so she could engage in all kinds of communications that would be kept off of her official server. This wasn't just a convenience or because I like to work from home. No, this is how do I engage in transactions and communications that can be concealed from the public. Here's an email that James Gilliar, one of Hunter Biden's business partners, sent to Tony Bobulinski, another guy who had been pulled into the Biden family operation. Quote, "Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face." So in other words, only in person do we bring up Joe Biden's direct involvement. Otherwise, he is kind of the silent partner of our operation. The operation is an influence peddling operation. It's receiving foreign money in exchange for influence or favors or access. The access is only to one person, Joe Biden, but the head of this mafia operation has got to be kept insulated from the crimes themselves. That way he can say, "What? I didn't really know. Yeah, I just called in. I was just saying hello." So the operation functions with the tacit approval of Joe Biden, but his involvement has got to be camouflaged, and that is precisely what these aliases, what these secret emails, what these private names are all about. As central banks in countries like China, India, Australia begin transitioning to a digital currency, the Federal Reserve has been contemplating the same for the US. Now, with a digital currency, the government could track every single purchase you make. Officials could even prohibit you from purchasing certain products or freeze or seize part or all of your money. These are some of the reasons concerned Americans reach out to Birch Gold Group. They want to have a physical asset that's independent from the US dollar, gold held tax sheltered in a retirement account. Debbie and I buy gold from Birch Gold to make sure we are diversified and protected. Learn if gold is right for you. Text Dinesh to 989898. They'll send you a free information kit on gold with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, countless 5-star reviews. Birch Gold can help you diversify into gold. Text Dinesh to 989898. Claim your free information kit on gold, because if a central bank digital currency becomes reality, it'll be nice to have some gold to depend on.